Marion and learn how they can help you.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Monday morning. I hope you're doing well. Robin, remember we were at a local Chinese restaurant, and we became friends with a couple of the servers, and it was just such a wonderful relationship that we had with them. I kind of wish that restaurant never closed. And anyway, so we were talking to one of the young ladies one day, and we were saying, well, where are you from? Because she was from China, and she told us where, and of course we didn't know where she was talking about. So she pulled out her smartphone, and she found it on the smartphone. She found it on the map, and she showed us where it was, and then she zoomed in on it or whatever to the street view or whatever, and there was a KFC, and I said, KFC. I'm picturing you grew up in like a hut or something like that. I have no idea. I have no idea what happens on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's happening in Asia. But and every once in a while I'll see a picture of a skyline in Asia, and I'm thinking, wow. I mean, why do we somehow think that it's a third world place? It's not, and obviously there's a lot of money. So. Now let me tell you about the book we're about to talk about. It is called Crazy Rich Asians, and it is written by Kwan. When I first started reading the book, I had to look at the author's name because and I hope he doesn't take offense to this. I want him to be... Actually, this is a compliment, but some guys might take offense. It sounds like a woman wrote it. It's written like a woman. Does that make sense? Did you think that?
Yes, it does.
Because a chick flick, if this was made into a movie, this would be the chick flick that the guys like to go see.
Yeah, everybody would clamor for
That's
this.
that's how I would best describe this. I don't know if anybody said that to him before, and I hope he's still on the phone after I said that.
It's currently been optioned, so
Has it been optioned?
Yes, it's
really?
been optioned. So
really?
That's pretty cool.
My notes say that there is a Hong Kong billionaire who offered $64 million for a man to marry his daughter. Hello? I don't care what she looks like. There was a billionaire, listen to this, who offered 40 million pounds to anyone who could turn his lesbian daughter straight. And then he doubled the offer after 20,000 guys failed.
Yeah.
20,000 guys. Well, this is amazing. I mean, what did this girl have to go through? What did these guys have to go through? Hey, baby, get out of here. Oh, next.
The guys were in it for the money, not true love.
Yeah, but how can you convince somebody? A Chinese billionaire sued for child support by his 9-year-old son. Wow. Crazy Rich Asians is such a wonderfully written book. Kwan is on the phone. Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing great. Nice to be talking to you.
You write wonderfully. And I mean that in all sincerity. I'm a big fan of like Woody Allen and the chick flick. I don't like all of them, but some of them that have some substance to them. And has anybody told you that before?
A lot of people have compared it to Woody Allen and various chick flicks and Downton Abbey, for example.
Yeah, the sophisticated chick flick writers. That's who I.
And the funniest one I heard really was someone said, "Oh, this is like the Real Housewives of the Joy Luck Club."
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So like if you have a name Kevin. Kevin is only a man's name, but I mean, if your name had been Pat, I would have been saying, is it Patricia or Patrick? What is it?
I think I probably would have sold a lot more books had my name been Michelle. There is a bias against men writing fiction in a way. And, let me tell you, I grew up with so many strong female characters in my life, from my mother to my grandmother. It's really a misnomer that the Chinese society is a patriarchal society. Women rule the roost.
Same thing,
so
right?
I think it was very easy for me to channel the voices of these nagging women in my life. And some lovely women as well.
Now, Asia is such a large area. But is it fair to do the broad brushstroke approach to this, or is it really not all of Asia? You just used it as a name.
Well, I use it as a name because it just really, it's a pan-Asian book. The book takes place all over Asia, from Singapore to Hong Kong to China and other surprising places. I don't want to ruin it for people, but it's about three families. Some of them are based in Hong Kong, some of them are based in Singapore, and then there's a whole mainland Chinese element, and it's all about this clash of new money and old money and new families and old families and what happens when they all get together for a big, huge, messy wedding.
Yeah. Well, I was talking in the intro about a Chinese restaurant in our community that no longer is here. But when we would talk to the young ladies who worked there, they were all, they seemed like they were Chinese. One of them said, I said, where are you from? She said, Brooklyn. Oh, okay, Brooklyn. you just immigrated here from Brooklyn. Okay, so let's talk about the book a lot because this is a really well written book. And how long has it been out?
It's been out for a year now.
Okay, so the little so have you had any feedback over the course of a year? Gosh, I'm sure you've had a lot of good feedback, but I mean, have you had feedback about stereotyping or anything like that?
The remarkable thing that I've heard from people, especially Asians. I was in Canada, for example, on a tour when the book first came out, and a Canadian Chinese journalist took me aside, and this was a guy in his 30s, and he said, Kevin, I read your book, and after I finished the last page, I started crying. Not because the book was sad, because it isn't, but because he realized for the first time that there was someone writing in his voice, someone representing Asians as they are today, contemporary, people with issues who aren't part of the old stereotypes. And that's the kind of story I wanted to tell. Especially in American fiction, there's a lot of historical fiction set in China and Shanghai, 1940s, the war, and then also there's the Asian immigrant story, assimilating into American culture, things like that. But this is a book very much about contemporary Asians today, in America, in Canada, around the world.
Okay.
And, so he appreciated that voice.
Do you know what I always think? This is not about the book, but we'll talk about the book. I've often thought that it seems arrogant on the part of the person, and please, I know people mean well, but when they send like a missionary to Asia or to China because they're going to change the way they think and what they believe and their religion and all that, I often think, guys, it's a little uncomfortable. I mean, aren't these people smart? I mean, aren't they the ones who we're looking at now as the ones who are really making big differences in our world? Missionaries have been doing a great job around the world for the last how many hundreds of years? I come from a... Yeah, but now, I mean, is China really needing missionaries now? I mean, aren't we talking...
I very much don't think so.
Yeah.
I think China now is calling the shots, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I was over there just a couple of months ago as well, and just like you were talking about your waitress friend showing you a picture of KFC in the iPhone. I hadn't been to Shanghai in probably 8 to 10 years, and the city is like a space-age, futuristic city like nothing you've ever seen before.
What's the air like? Is the air clean?
The air is cleaner in Shanghai than it is in Beijing. I think northern China is where you get more of the pollution.
So when you hear stories about the pollution in China, that's limited to certain areas?
Yeah. And it is bad, don't get me wrong. I mean, they are having massive problems with it, I think, but it varies from region to region.
And there's a lot of money in China now, and these are people who didn't have money before. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. I mean, China is still considered a communist country, but what happened was about 15 years ago, they decided to really open the doors to allow, free enterprise into the country. And so you would see these state-owned companies. This is what happened in Russia about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
All these massive state-owned companies became privatized. And when you own a factory that makes coat hangers or water boilers, or I don't care what it is you do, when you have a market of 1.6 billion people to sell to, you start making money pretty quickly.
Yeah, right. And they spend it. The book is called Crazy Rich Asians. I want to keep talking about it, but we have to take a little break. Kevin Kwan is on the phone. And where are you right now?
I'm in Manhattan.
Oh, in Manhattan. Okay.
Nice.
So we're going to speak to Kevin. He was born and raised in Singapore. He's got you don't have any Asian accent at all. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but...
I'm from Brooklyn.
Oh, you are from Brooklyn. Everybody's from Brooklyn.
Just kidding.
All right. Just kidding. Kevin, hold on just a little bit. We've got to take a little break, and we'll be right back, okay? I'm looking forward to the rest of this. This is The Source, WOCA. We'll be right back.
The weather's brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. A couple of showers and a heavy thunderstorm beginning in the late morning. We have variable clouds today with a high of 89 to 91. Partly cloudy skies tonight, low 73 to 77. Tomorrow will feature partial sunshine with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm starting late morning on, high 89 to 93. And partly cloudy skies again tomorrow night, low 74 to 76. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Stephanie Omo.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
You've got a garden and we've got a show for you called You've Got a Garden with your host, Master Gardener Carol Ann Baldwin. Carol Ann answers your questions about your flowers, your veggies, your grass, your trees, even questions about your bugs. And she's only on WOCA, so don't miss Carol Ann Baldwin and You've Got a Garden each Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on WOCA The Source.
Sign up for this year's Marion County Heart Walk and be part of a local movement that's helping others live longer, healthier lives. Join me, Corey Poole, your 2014 Marion County Heart Walk Chairman, and walk with me on Saturday, October the 4th at the Baseline Road Trailhead. It's a free event promoting physical activity and heart-healthy living. To find out how you can help fight the #1 killer of all Americans, visit us online at marionheartwalk.org.
It's rodeo time in Florida. The 32nd annual Ocala Shrine Rodeo returns with the best of man, muscle, and a stampede of horsepower. August 29th and 30th, witness America's #1 sport and the greatest show on dirt. Showtime, 7:30 each night at the Southeastern Livestock Pavilion. For rodeo information, call 352-402-8808. August 29th and 30th, don't miss the Ocala Shrine Rodeo.
Hey everybody, this is Kelly Hart, your new host of the Ocala Magazine radio show. Join me every Friday at 10 a.m. when we bring the pages of Ocala Magazine to life with in-depth interviews from and about your community. So don't miss Marion County's favorite city magazine, Ocala Magazine, every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on 1370 AM and 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
WOCA.
All right, thank you for waiting. 18 minutes after 11 o'clock, Kevin Kwan is on the phone up in Manhattan, but he was born and raised in Singapore. He's a best-selling author, and he's really good at what he does. His book is called this book is called Crazy Rich Asians, a shopaholic comedy novel. And I would add there, for those of you who like chick flicks that are... guy movies as well. This kind of fits into that category. And let's see some more about the book. We haven't really been fair to the book. We've been picking your brain, Kevin, about everything other than the books. Let's focus on the book a little bit. What's the main character, Nick? Are you Nick?
I wish I was Nick.
Okay.
Nick is a classic, what we call, third culture kid. He was born in Singapore, but grew up most of his life in boarding schools in England. And so he moves to New York and becomes a professor at NYU and meets what we call an ABC, an American-born Chinese.
Okay.
They fall in love.
An ABC, I never knew that. When I was a kid, we called some girls Japs, and I thought they were Japanese, and they were Jewish American princesses. So I never understood all these little things. So ABC means American-born Chinese. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So, so the fun ensues when they get together and he takes her on vacation back to his homeland of Singapore. She has no idea the family he comes from. She has no idea he grew up in a palace, practically.
Wow.
And, and as a mother that is hell-bent on her not marrying her precious son.
Yeah, that's a good part of it, too.
That's the initial setup, I think.
Yeah, but did any of that happen to you?
I've witnessed this happening to quite a few people, actually. Hasn't happened to me yet.
So you're in Manhattan, and so I want to ask you something. When I lived in New York, I knew two types of rich people: the ones who really were, and the ones who really weren't. And the ones who really were rich, you almost didn't know it. And the ones or couldn't tell it, except for the fact that they lived in gigantic houses. But the ones who you thought were rich, who maybe were richer than me, but not really, really rich, they sort of put on an air as if they were. Is that true everywhere, or is that just a New York thing?
I think that's true everywhere, and it's something I noticed when I first moved to New York and would meet some of these, Upper East Side families and people like that. And I saw the kinship between how these really waspy, unimaginably wealthy families were.
That's me. I'm a wasp.
Yeah.
Yes.
To the families I knew in Singapore of extreme wealth. It's very private. I think people, from all over the world who are truly wealthy tend to keep things on the down low more than they do show off.
And this is a true irony in your book, because the couple meets, they fall in love, they feel they're on the same page as well as the financial system is, and they are genuinely care for each other. But then all of a sudden there's this culture shock when she goes back to his country, and now you're wondering if she'll really stay with him or not, just because of this overwhelmingness of richness that he has, and she might feel not worthy.
I think there's issues of that. Yeah, I think she was initially shocked to find out what kind of family he came from, and really shocked by the reaction of people to her. This is a educated, Stanford grad, university professor who is getting treated like a gold digger back in or by his family. So I think that's where it's kind of the tragedy and the comedy of the book ensues. And let's forget. I really wrote this as a satire. It's meant to be funny, and it's really meant to highlight the nuances of this very unusual culture, of the clash of the Chinese, if you call it as you will.
It is. I mean, you make some observations that are more subtle and deep than surface, and this is why I think you are in the leagues of the Woody Allens of the world, because when I guess. Maybe during the hippie, I'm trying to think of when this might have been a trend, when everybody was like anti-capitalism. All of a sudden, making money was not a good thing. Remember all those days? And now Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young are rich, and all these all these guys who were John Lennon. Imagine no possessions.
Yeah, right.
I've
got more than enough already. Right?
John Lennon, I think his Patek Philippe just went up on auction or something like that. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, isn't that strange? But I mean, I think you're commenting on that in a very sly way.
Very much so. I wanted to satirize what I see whenever I travel back to Asia, and really kind of look at the different layers of class systems that exist even within the very rich, because that's what's happened in Asia over the past century. You've got these very old money overseas Chinese families, and by overseas I mean the Chinese that migrated from China to other regions of Asia, sometimes 200, 300 years ago, who've been slowly amassing these great fortunes. And you contrast that with the mainland Chinese wealth that has been made in the past 10, 15 years, and the snobbery that ensues.
The snobbery, yeah.
And
come
you
into contact with one another.
And you do have that jet setter flair in your book, because no matter what age or what monetary a part of the world a person is, they are always looking toward the jet setters, because there's something about their lives that they have to live vicariously through that, and you do a great job expressing that.
Thank you so much. It was a great fun to write the book, really. It sort of wrote itself.
So Robert said that it was optioned for a movie. Are you happy with that idea?
I'm thrilled with the idea. It's actually more than option. We're sort of going into production at the end of the year now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Can you tell us anything about it? Who's in it and anything?
Casting hasn't been decided yet, though we're still working on that at the moment, but it's produced by Nina Jacobson and Color Force, and they are the people behind the Hunger Games movies.
Okay.
And they also just recently optioned Donna Tartt's The Goldfinch. So they have a tremendous track record in terms of bringing books to life in a way that readers really enjoy, and that stays loyal to what the readers want. So I'm very excited to see what they do with the movie.
So tell me what's the truth about if you are amassing a fortune, but you're in a communist country, how do you? I mean, the illusion we have, the impression we have, is that the government says, "I'm sorry, you can't keep it. That's ours." Is that not true?
It's not true anymore, because what's happening, and you see this all over the world, is that the Chinese who are making money in mainland China, they're parking their money overseas. They're the ones buying up the $40 million penthouses in Manhattan these days. They're buying up real estate in London, in Singapore, and Hong Kong. So they're getting their money out of the country. It's a very interesting phenomenon that I actually address a lot more in my next book, the sequel.
Really? Are they philanthropical? Are they giving a lot of it away?
I think you're starting to see some of that. You're starting to see some, spending on private foundations and culture. A lot of people now in China, the thing to do is to start your own private museum, believe it or not.
Really?
So they're buying back a lot of the great treasures that the Europeans and the Americans bought and took out of China.
So now the other thing I wanted to know, is there any truth to the fact that the items we buy, that we go to the dollar store or anything we buy, we get it for a cheap price because there is slave labor in China that are making these things? Is that true?
I really don't know the facts behind that, but I have heard similarly. There's still enormous issues and problems going on in China. I mean, I write a book about the 0.1%, but the truth of the matter is, there is this gigantic income and wealth gulf that's just getting bigger and bigger in Asia. And so wherever you have a really upper class, you're also going to find an underclass that's growing, I find.
And you have a couple in your book that's just beginning to, flourish in their romance, and then you have another couple that's been together for a while in fear that their union is going to be split. So you really do run the gamut of emotions in the book.
Yeah, I wanted to see what money does to people and the ramifications money has on relationships. So you have one couple that's falling in love, and you have another couple that's falling out of love because of money.
And hopefully in the course of this interview, we have illustrated for the listener why I said what I said in the beginning. This is a romance novel, but it's a funny novel, and it's very, very poignant in its ability to poke fun at something that is really happening, and in some cases it deserves to have fun poked at it, in other cases maybe not so. Kevin, you've an outstanding book. It's called Crazy Rich Asians. I have a copy of the book, and I would like to give it away. No, I don't, but I'll give it away. So call me if you want it. The phone number is the WOCA Climate Control Source Outline 622-9622. You will be the lucky one to get this one. The rest of us have to go buy it, though. Kevin, how do we do that? Do you have a website?
Yeah, I do. It's crazyrichasians.com.
Crazyrichasians.com. Are you getting any grief for that name?
Not really.
No,
I think it's actually become part of the lingo in Asia.
Really?
People in Asia now are calling, or some are calling others Crazy Rich Asians, or proclaiming themselves Crazy Rich Asians. So they're in on the joke, and it's meant in good fun. I wrote a comedy of manners. I wrote a satire, and if anyone takes it too seriously, they really shouldn't.
Can I ask a question that might be politically incorrect, but hopefully you realize that I don't mean any harm by it. When we refer to Asians as Orientals, is that offensive?
As they like to say now, Orientals are rugs.
Oh, okay, so that is offensive then.
I think for some people it's considered politically incorrect.
Okay, well, I'll know better. Well, I mean, I have stopped saying it, but I was one of those guys. I didn't know she looks Oriental. So I would say, where did you? I went to this one. The girl looked Oriental. I never knew that was an insult. Mm-hmm. Now I know they're a rug.
Even though you have a lot of humor in the book, you have a lot of real life circumstances, and your novel does run very deep into the serious too.
It does, and I think that's why it's really connected with people of every age group. I had a reader tell me the other day. She said, I read it, I loved it. My 16-year-old daughter read it, and my mother-in-law read it, and so it's like 3 generations of one family all really enjoying a book. And,
That's
and
great.
that to me is just the greatest gift, really. I'm so grateful.
Well, wonderful. And you're getting such rave reviews from everybody else. Kevin, thank you for being on the air with us today. Come back with the next book, and good luck with the movie. I think once that movie's made, you won't be on this show anymore. So.
Oh, please.
Robin and I have to get it. We'll have to get a gig on. Yeah. We'll have to get a bigger gig.
Yeah.
Kevin, thank you so much for being on the air with us today.
My pleasure.
That was fun. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. Good news for thirsty residents of Toledo, Ohio.
Our water is safe.
Mayor D. Michael Collins making the announcement lifting a ban on the city's tap water.
That water alert had been in effect since early Saturday after toxins from algae contaminated Lake Erie. People had been